Welcome back to the channel, everybody. It is Christmas Day. It's also the first day of Hanukkah, so happy holidays to everyone celebrating today. We've got our little Christmas sweater on at Salt Bay, and we've got the gingerbread man down at the bottom. We're sprinkling a little bit of frosting on the gingerbread man. But today's video, we're diving into the bottom six teams of the Premier League, taking a look at, was the relegation battle heats up. We're going to analyze these teams' recent form, their coaching situation, their injury concerns, and January transfer business, and as well as take a look at some of their current standings and, kind of see what needs to change in their form and what they can do to turn things around this season. So without further ado, let's go ahead. Let's get right into it with Southampton. Starting rock bottom of the Premier League, we have Southampton, who currently sit in 20th, of course, on just 6 points with 1 win, 3 draws, and a painful 13 losses in their 17 games played this season. They've only scored 11 goals in 17 in what was supposed to be a very attacking, exciting style of play, but they just haven't had the players to execute the style of play, which has cost the manager his job. We all know that already. They're looking at a few options in manager. I know they have an interim manager right now. He was recently coaching the U21s. It's been a very rough stretch for them recently. A 0-0 draw at Fulham did give them a glimmer of hope, but it was preceded by a devastating 5-0 loss to Liverpool and a narrow 1-0 defeat at Aston Villa. They're still operating under an interim manager, as I mentioned. If they want to stay up, they'll need to bring in someone who can really grind out results at the bottom of the table and someone who can solidify the Southampton defense. Taking a look at some of the players, though, that need to begin to perform. One of the big ones is injury issues at the goalkeeper position. Aaron Ramsdale made headlines playing with a 4-finger glove against Fulham, and it led to a clean sheet for Southampton. They'll be hoping that he can maintain his healthiness and he can continue to play, and he showed a lot of grit there, and it really could be something to spear that team into a little bit better form, with a goalkeeper showing that kind of determination to be on the pitch to help them fight in the battle that they're in. Ross Stewart also remains their only other real injury, but the squad lacks depth overall, which is obviously a concern there for Southampton. They have a very, very thin and weak squad. However, I think they need to chalk up. Relegation is going to happen this season. I really don't see them coming back from it, but we have to talk about January dealings, and I'm going to go with 2 options for every team. One we've already talked about for every team. I'm going to give another signing opportunity here. So we've already mentioned in my last video, Borja signs from Norwich, top goal scorer in the league right now in Championship. And then we're going to go with Kevin Danso from Lens. I think he's Austrian center back. They add depth, but may not be enough to turn things around at Southampton. I think they will be good options in the Championship moving forward for the Saints. Next up, we have Ipswich Town, sitting 19th place on 12 points, tied for 18th, losing that battle just on goal difference currently. Their record is 2 wins, 6 draws, and 9 losses. They've scored 16 goals, but conceded twice as many, conceding 32 goals this season so far. They had an okay run recently, losing to Bournemouth 2-1, however followed it with a 2-1 win to their fellow relegation candidate in Wolves. But they most recently suffered a heavy loss 4-0 at the weekend to Newcastle, and then they're following that by traveling to London to face Arsenal, so we'll have to wait and see what happens there. It's not looking good for them, though, to be quite honest. Kieran McKenna's position seems safe for now. He has been a part of a journey with that team, and he has gotten them to this level. He's shown potential to steer the team, but results may need to improve quickly. I think the board backs him. We'll have to see what happens in January. Key players like George Hurst and Alex Tuanzebe missed the Newcastle game, and Delap's suspension highlighted their over-reliance on him. I think that they just looked so poor going forward that it shows how important Delap is to that team. Few names that got thrown into January. Christian Arango was a player that I came up with that would sign from Real Salt Lake, offer some different options at striker, as well as Hakim Ziyech from Galatasaray has been linked with a move back to the Premier League. I think he's getting looked at by West Ham as well, but I'm going to say if he joins them, he not only adds creativity, but he adds firepower to that team. He has the possibility to score goals, and you give him the freedom to roam on the wing, to roam in the 10 position, to come in, to stay wide, whatever he wants to do. I think he really could be crucial to keeping Ipswich alive this year. Now we have the leakiest defense in the league right now. It's Wolves in 18th position. Also on 12 points. They have 3 wins, 3 draws, and 11 losses. However, with scoring 40 goals, conceding 40 goals, they've also scored 27. They've had one of the better attacks of the teams at the bottom part of the table. They had an impressive 3-0 win against Leicester City, who sit just above them currently. Following their recent 4-game losing streak, which include 2 losses to relegation rivals. We mentioned the 1-2-1 to Ipswich, as well as one we'll talk about later, 4-0 to Everton, where they got absolutely demolished at Goodison Park. The club recently appointed Victor Pereira. His knowledge of the game, his tactics are really going to be crucial in this fight for survival. I think they have a squad that is the best out of any of these relegation teams. I think the only one that rivals it, I would say, would be Crystal Palace. I think Everton is probably one of the lower squads. I would put the worst squads being Southampton, Ipswich, then Leicester, then Everton, then Palace or Wolves in terms of quality in the team, but we've seen injury issues in this squad. Cunha's fitness remains a concern. He didn't play in their last match. Kalajic, Mosquera, and Sarabia were all out against Leicester. There's issues to be seen and concerns about depth, one of them being the center back position, and we've already addressed it with go out and sign Ben Godfrey from Atalanta. He's played, I think, 1 game, maybe if he's even made an appearance. I don't even know if he has. There's also rumors floating around of them going and get Miguel Almiron from Newcastle. He offers a lot of pace, a lot of energy. Bring him in from Newcastle, and he could really make a difference for a struggling team like this Wolves side. Now we have to talk about Leicester City, a team that's looking like they'll probably survive this year. They're currently in 17th place, just outside the relegation zone. They have 14 points, 3 wins, 5 draws, and 9 losses. They have scored 21 goals, but have also the second most goals conceded of this list with 37. It's been a tough run for the Foxes. Most recently, 3-0 loss to Wolves, 4-0 demolition at the hands of Newcastle, and a 2-2 draw to Brighton, which shows the team's clear inconsistencies. Ruud van Nistelrooy has recently taken charge of Leicester. We saw him obviously do a little bit of a job at Manchester United, and now he's at Leicester, where he won his first game, and then it's kind of gone down from there. Key players like Wilfred Ndidi and Ricardo Pereira missed the most recent game, as well as Hermansen struggling for fitness. Looked like he was going to start the last game, but he did not. They're one more injury away from disaster, especially in that back line. They look really, really shaky in defense. Their marquee signings would include bringing Dewsbury Hall back from Chelsea. I've already talked about that in one of my recent videos. You'll see that video linked in the description. You can check out all 20 team signings in that video. But Harry Maguire, a return to Leicester as well from Manchester United, might be something that brings experience to this team, but they need time to gel with the new players. Dewsbury Hall is going to be a lot more seamless, but then when you bring in Harry Maguire, it's going to be a little bit more of a transition for him to work his way back in the defense, but he is an immediate upgrade on a player like Connor Cody, who's currently starting at the left center back position for Leicester. Now currently in 16th place, we have Crystal Palace. 16 points in 16th. They have 3 wins, 7 draws, and 7 losses. They've scored just 14 goals this season. However, they've only conceded 26. So they have had a pretty strong defense. No doubts there. Mark Gahey, Dean Henderson, Munoz, Tyreek Mitchell, and as well just a very solid center back group there, as well as, those strong wing backs. However, they do need a right wing back or a left wing back during the transfer window, which we're going to talk about here in a little bit. Adam Morton and Shadi Riyad, one of the center backs, Riyad, both missed the Arsenal clash, so could be issues there. Wharton's been out for a while now. They do need him back if they want to succeed this season, if they do really want to survive. I would say 2 signings that they need. You have Kieran Tierney from Arsenal currently. Bring him in on a 6-month loan, and then you can sign him for free. Or if you want to go get him right now, go ahead and go get him. But I do think he's a player that would help them at least offer a little bit of depth at left wing back position. A player who's not going to be as relied on defensively, but can even slide into a left center back role, which we've seen him do with Scotland. Obviously because of the quality of Andrew Robertson at that left back position for Scotland. The other players from Benfica, Jean-Nicolas Best, joined Benfica, I believe, this July, but hasn't gotten the most minutes. Bring him in on loan. both would bolster the squad. You offer a lot of creativity on that left-hand side, and it would be very important for Crystal Palace and Oliver Glasner to go and continue and fight this season. And finally, we have Everton, who are also on 16 points, conceding just 21 goals, only scoring 14, but 3 wins, 7 draws, 6 losses, and we got to talk about their recent form. They crushed Wolves 4-0, had their game against Liverpool canceled, as we know, then proceeded to draw 0-0 against Arsenal and then against Chelsea. They've had very good form, keeping 3 clean sheets in a row. Jordan Pickford might be leading the Golden Glove race at this point. But Sean Dyche had a lot of, looked like he might be out the door at the beginning of this season. He's remained steady, and his approach to the game is paying off, and it looks like Everton probably going to stay up a little more comfortable this year than they have previous years. Dwight McNeil is struggling for fitness, though, so that could definitely be a concern for them. And they'll also please excuse my pronunciation of his last name. His first name is Tim. His surname is Iroegbunam and Garner, both midfielders for them. I think that they need to, obviously, if healthiness there will help them immensely, especially as we go into these festive fixtures. And then January business, I think there's really 2 players there. You have Ernest Nuamwa, who we talked about in the last video from Lyon, and then Omar Alderete from Getafe, a South American talent. A lot of teams monitoring him right now from Getafe. Both would add much needed depth to that Everton squad and wouldn't be breaking the bank. Well, that's it for me for this video. My analysis of the bottom 6 clubs and what they need to do differently and kind of what their situation's looking like. I think a few signings, get a few players healthy. I don't think much needs to change for any of these teams at the manager position other than Southampton. I do think the teams that will survive out of these 3, I think it will be Southampton, Ipswich, and Leicester that go down, the 3 promoted teams. I think Palace, Everton, and Wolves are going to be okay. I just think that the 3 worst squads there are those 3. And if January business, the thing is, I'm basing this on what is happening before January. If Leicester could go out and sign a Harry Maguire, they could go sign a Dewsbury Hall, and then they could strengthen their team would be the best out of any of these candidates. They would be competing with Crystal Palace for having the best squad out of these relegation candidates that we mentioned today. Obviously, if Palace go in and add depth, we don't know what that's going to look like for them. Same goes for Everton, but a lot of things can happen. We could see more injury crisis at Wolves, and then they drop to 19th. They could end up behind Ipswich by the end of the week, depending on what happens with these festive fixtures. But let me know in the comment section down below what you think. I do think it's 20th will be Southampton, 19th Ipswich, 18th Leicester, 17th will be Wolves, and then I'll say 16th Everton, 15th Palace, and then of course other teams could drop into that, but based on just the teams we talked about, that's where I have these teams finishing. But again, let me know what you think in the comment section down below. Who do you think has the best chance of escaping the relegation zone this season of those teams that are currently in the fight? Anyways, don't forget to like and hit that subscribe button if you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.